In this video, we will look at the various kinds of reports that you can create with SPM and how you can customize them in order to answer your specific business questions. We start where we left off in the previous video. We had a scenario with 4 phases and 6 therapeutic areas, and we looked at the number of launches. Later in this video, we will create a report from scratch, but for now, let's enable some reports that are already defined in this file by double-clicking on these checkboxes. We'll look at costs, revenues, net present value, and details about the composition of our pipeline. Let's do just one seed. The top 2 reports are the same as before. The third one is a yearly budget report. For each year, we have 2 bars. The gray one represents the money received at the beginning of the year. The blue one is the money left over at the end of the year. Next, we have a yearly revenues report, total revenues over the entire 30-year period, and yearly probabilized net present value of all of our assets. Then we have a report of all milestones hit each year. I will minimize the setting panels so that we can see the report better and also zoom in by holding the Shift key, clicking and dragging. For each year, we now have 5 bars, one for each phase plus one for the automatically defined post-launch phase. The height of each bar represents the number of assets that have hit the respective milestone during the course of that year. Thus, black is the number of assets that have entered phase 1, always 12 as we have set it up. Blue is the number of assets that have entered phase 2, and so on until red is the number of launches for the year, the same as in our original plot. I've actually zoomed in on those 2 years without launches. To zoom out, hold the Shift key and click a few times until the whole report is visible again. The next report is very similar, except that it counts assets that are in progress in each phase at the end of the year, regardless of when they started the phase. In other words, it's a work in progress report, broken down by phase. The last report also shows work in progress, but broken down by therapeutic area. Let's zoom in again. The height of the green bar represents how many metabolic assets we're currently working on across all phases. Gray is for oncology, magenta for anti-inflammatory, and so on. We can see that prevalence of the different therapeutic areas in our portfolio varies over time, even though each year the same number of assets from each area, namely 2, enter phase 1. This is how the different cycle times and probabilities of success can play out in the long run. SPM comes with a set of predefined reports, but often you will want to create your own. For instance, we have seen a report of the number of new launches each year, but suppose we also want to see how the total number of assets we have on the market fluctuates over time. One way to achieve that is to create a new report by clicking the New Report button. We give the report a title, say Assets on the Market. We check the time granularity, it's once per year, so we'll leave it as is. Now we create a data series to be shown in the report by clicking the New Series button. We also give it a name, say on Market. Next, we have to tell it what quantity to display, which we do with the Observable combo box. We want this series to just count assets, so we keep the default selection Count. We also have to tell it which assets to count, which we do by entering an expression in the filter box. There is a documented set of functions that can be used in this filter to query various asset properties. In this case, we want assets that are on the market, which are characterized by the fact that their last milestone was first launch. Therefore, we use the last milestone is function and constrain it to be equal to first launch. Let's also change the color to red to match our other launch report. There are other things you can tweak in this dialog, but most of the time their default values are what you need, so I won't cover them now. Let's click OK. Our new report shows at the bottom of the list. We double-click to select it. SPM is optimized for speed. Therefore, when it runs simulations, it collects only data that is needed for the currently defined reports. Since we just defined the new one, we need to click the Run Simulation button again. The new chart shows up at the bottom of the list. It would be nice to see it next to the yearly launches, so let's click the Move Report Up button a couple of times to get it to the top. Since this is only a cosmetic change, we don't need to rerun. We can just click the Recreate Charts button, and now we see the two charts next to each other. We see that about 10 years after the first assets made it to market, the total number stagnates and even decreases, even though we still get some new launches. This is because those early assets are now reaching patent expiration, since for this scenario we have that patent lasts 12 years and it's issued when entering phase 1. So we've seen how to create a new report from scratch, but most often you will create new reports by copying existing ones and tweaking a few things. For instance, to make a report of costs by therapeutic area, the easiest way is to make a copy of the work in progress by therapeutic area. We select it and click the Copy Report button and give it a new name, say Yearly Costs. We already have the 6 data series, one for each therapeutic area. Note how their filters make use of the parent stream name function to use data only from reports in the respective stream. The observable is currently set to count, since for the work in progress report we were merely counting assets. We change it to total costs. As you may have noticed, the aggregation method has automatically changed to the default value for the new observable, and most of the time the default is what you need. We select all the other time series by holding the Shift key for multiple selection and change their observables in one go. Click OK, then run simulation, and the new chart shows up. We see that which therapeutic area we spend most of our money on fluctuates a lot from year to year and also doesn't track exactly the trends in number of assets in progress at the end of each year. We can also very quickly get an idea of the cost relationships between different therapeutic areas in the long run. Let's copy the report that we just made, change the period length to 30 years, which is the length of our simulation, and adjust the name to total cost. Click OK, rerun, and we've got it. You can save a snapshot of the report as an image file by clicking the little S button. You can also export to CSV the data behind the report by clicking the D button. Here are the saved files. When saving a scenario to file, the CSV data for all reports is automatically saved within and can be easily accessed. You can import this CSV data into the tool of your choice, such as Excel or Tableau, should you want to do any further analysis or visualization. And as you've already gotten a peek at, there's many quantities that you can observe, several ways that you can aggregate these quantities, and many functions you can use to filter which assets you want to report on, so you can build a multitude of reports to get a deep understanding of the behavior of your pipeline.